So this is the best I've done with secondaries this patch. Well, post 10.0, it's been challenging to say the least to get any good games with secondaries. They're really bad. Yeah, they're really, really bad. Unsurprisingly too, because that's what happens when you nerf the accuracy so they barely hit anything. It's pretty hard for something to deal damage if it's never going to hit, you know? It's too bad, really, because it was a fun playstyle. It was never really the best or optimal way to play a ship. Even ships like Kurfürst really didn't benefit all that much from secondaries. Running a full tank build was probably better than running a secondary build on a Kurfürst back in the day. Yet, I still did it because it was fun. And even though it was worse, it wasn't that much worse than the full tank build. So, yeah, it allowed for some interesting gameplay. But this patch, man, it's been really challenging to get games where you can have secondaries. For every game like this where I happen to have good RNG on Matchmaker, no carriers in the game, a good map where there's islands I can push up to. You can see how I'm using this island to stay dark, you know, and be relatively close to the enemy team. For every match like this, there's like 10 where my team is all in the back, like this game, right? You can see my Chambart, North Carolina are like miles away from me, right? And the only reason this is working is because our Kagero is spotting well. So that's the only reason the enemy team haven't overrun me right now. And that's why this position's okay right now. But there's matches that just end horribly. I tried doing this same play in my Ohio last night's stream, and wow, it was bad. I got torped to death from B, the gap in C, and on this outside flank too. The three lanes you can get torped from. I got torped from all three, and I died. It's so hard to push, man. Even this position where it's gonna work this game, it doesn't work every game, and it's too bad. I would love to see this playstyle come back, but I don't think it will. There's been rumors that Deadeye is going to get nerfed or removed from the game or something along those lines, which is exciting. Hopefully that they make a nice skill to allow battleships to brawl a little more. I would love to see some sort of tankiness upgrade, something that really makes a battleship hard to kill when it's pushing in, as the current skills don't really do that. They do little things to help here and there, but they're not enough to really make battleships tanky enough to push in with. Because, you know, you're generally going to have to deal with like 5 ships shooting at you, or even 2 ships shooting at you is enough to kill you very quickly in a battleship these days. So hopefully they don't mess that up. Hopefully that's something good. I feel like it's going to be bad though, because the way Wargaming seem to think the battleship skills need is more damage output. They want to increase the reloads. They want to increase accuracy. You know, you can see what Deadeye did. And those kinds of things aren't what battleships need. They need to be tankier if you want them to push in more. If you want to brawl, you need to let them stay alive for a little bit longer. Ships like this Pommern, you saw I got absolutely smashed by that Montana at, you know, I wasn't quite a perfect angle, but I was nearly at 30 degrees and I still got slapped pretty hard. And even if I did angle properly, look at how gigantic the superstructure is on this ship. It just takes damage from any angle anywhere. It's crazy how these battleships are so heavily armored, and then they have really, really, really massive weak spot in a superstructure that everybody can hit. So yeah, that's kind of why pushing isn't viable these days, really. And it was never really that viable, I want to say, but the secondary power did make up for it a little bit. You knew that when you got into these closer range engagements, you at least had an advantage, you know? You at least had something that was like, yeah, I'm going to kill this person if I push in and really surprise them. But as it stands, I mean, look, we're having a difficult time hitting a destroyer at close range. You know, we're on a double fire, we're dying. It's really not good. You can see how bad these secondaries are against DDs, and that was really only your only defense against DDs. Now that AP is across the board been nerfed, so you don't take full pens, or you don't deal full pen damage to a destroyer, and high explosive generally hits modules and deals 0 damage to the hull, unless you're at close range and you can guarantee hits on the hull. Generally, that's inside 5 kilometers or so. Outside that, your shells are going to be plunging down and hitting modules and not dealing any ship damage. So it is actually better to shoot AP at destroyers still at longer ranges. Only at close range is HE really that useful. Before this, secondaries were an option to dealing with destroyers. Just go look back and look at my older Ohio, Georgia, and Massachusetts games. Even some of the German battleships could hit sometimes. But it was really the Ohio, Massachusetts, Georgia kind of classes that were really good against DDs with the secondaries. Not because of the pen, but because of the accuracy. And that was okay, because you could brawl then, and when the DD got spotted, you knew you had some way of defending yourself. Or if the DD decides to YOLO rush you, for example. There's really no defense against a YOLO rush right now. Not really if you're pushing in. The defense is to run away. But of course, that's what everybody's doing. And there's a good reason for it. There's the destroyers, there's all the CVs, putting you in a constant crossfire. It's really, really, really difficult to push in. And I know I'm harping on that a lot, even in a game where I made it work a little bit to push in. But the reason being is I've been trying really, really hard throughout these last couple weeks to play like I used to and I found it enjoyable to push in and all that stuff. But it's getting more and more frustrating, and I think I'm pretty much done with it, honestly. It's really, really bad how how difficult it is to do. The playstyle of sitting at the back and sniping is just way easier. It's less interesting, but it's way easier, and that's what you have to do these days. That's just how it is. It's disappointing, to say the least, because this game was always at its best inside 15 kilometers, in my opinion. The closer range, the less RNG was involved, and the more fun it was. It felt more like a battle instead of just kind of sniping at one another. And that's really the problem with Tier 10. It's just the ranges are so big. Cruisers have 20 kilometers of range these days. Battleships have their 25 to 6 kilometers of range, and everybody sits at those ranges because they don't want to be the target of the entire enemy team farming them out. Now, here is where the secondaries come to work. We only have 75 hits right now, but this is the perfect scenario for a German secondary battleship. I will say I do have IFHE on this commander, so the secondaries do pen 32 millimeters, all of them. And that's why this is the perfect scenario. We have a Conqueror stuck bow into us, and a Vanguard around the corner, as well as a Montana. Montana's less good because he has 38 millimeters of plating, but for the most part, the secondaries that are hitting the Conqueror are dealing damage. And because the Conqueror is a reasonably large ship, we actually get most of our shells, not all of them, but a lot of our shells hitting at these ranges. The secondaries firing on both sides are not that useful. If you think they are, I would just say, hey man, just go look at the number of hits you're getting on the side that you're not focused on. It's really, really quite bad. So you can see, again, I'm using the same principles I always do. Try and isolate 1v1s using islands, right? I'm just going to stop here, get my other side secondaries online, and just try to secondary this guy out. And this is the only time secondaries are really that useful, is when you pen 32 and you have a bow-in battleship at 3 kilometers. This is what it takes for secondaries to be good, guys. How often does this happen, right? Not often. Not often at all. Most of the time, this Conqueror is going to be where their Jean Bart is, not where he is currently. He probably learned his lesson, so next game he will be at the back of the map. That's the problem with this whole Deadeye meta, is that you're being taught every game that you should stay at the back of the map. Every game you push in and you die quickly because the whole enemy team focused you with their crazy accuracy and DPM. every time that happens, you're taught, don't push in, don't push in, don't push in. You're just going to die. So it's no wonder that everybody's sitting at the back of the map in their battleship, because it can't tank. You just can't. Even things like a Kremlin die very quickly these days. It's a disappointing meta, and yes, made it work here. We got 200 hits in their secondaries, which is pretty good in all honesty. And you'll see the damage. We got up to around 90k damage with fires and secondaries, which is really good. But yeah, I really hope Wargaming don't mess up this Deadeye change and the module. I hope they make it a good module that allows for more dynamic gameplay. Because after all, that was the goal of the commander changes. More interesting, dynamic captain builds, which has so far not been the case. But there you go. There's the damage. It took a really special game to make that work. So thanks for watching, guys, and I hope you have a great day.